All right, so I'm going to share something that I've learned over the last few days that has just completely blown my mind and has given me complete joy. And so I want to share it with you because I think you'll probably experience the same thing that I'm experiencing, and I want you to have that. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. So last week I was in our car lane. So our car lane at our school is kind of funky because we have limitations with the parking lot. We have to go in a loop and then stop and wait for the parking lot to empty, and then the crossing guard will allow us to go through, and we fill in these two lines, and they stop the rest of the traffic and wait until we go, and then they let more cars in to fill in the lot. And it works well for the limitations that we have. It's a pretty good plan. Anyway, so like the first line goes and then the second line goes, but all year long I've been watching this church daycare van not wait in the circle and just go in the first line, so that when the first line goes, they go right in, and then the second line has to follow, but then we're off by a couple cars. The other day it was 3 cars, and so then other cars would have to wait an extra turn before they can get in because these people didn't follow the rules. So I've been watching this all year long, and finally it happened to me where she goes in, and the car in front of me is trying to scoot in and merge in to follow the car that they were behind, and I was trying to do the same thing, and she kind of gave me a dirty look. So when I stopped, I just went over to her window. I was like, hey, I just want to let you know that the protocol is that we're supposed to go in the loop, and then we're supposed to fill in the first line and second line, and then when those are full, you're supposed to go and wait in the loop because it throws off how many cars can get their kids at one time. And I said, I just want to let you know that we weren't trying to cut. We were trying to take the rightful place. I just didn't want you to think that we were trying to be rude. And she's like, well, you're doing it wrong. The first line goes in all the time. I was like, did you wait in the loop? She goes, no, we never do. I was like, yeah, you're supposed to. And she goes, no, we're not. You're wrong. And she basically rolled up her window. I'm like, all right, Ginger, you were 20 at one point. You were stupid too. So I was like, all right. I was trying to explain that we weren't trying to be rude, but she was not going to hear it. So I went back to my car, and it just kind of gnawed at me all day. Like, she's just kind of rude. It wasn't like, oh, well, I might be wrong. Let me ask my supervisor, or I might be wrong. I'll call the school and make sure I'm doing it correctly. Or this is what we were told, it was just rude. And, so anyway, it just kind of annoyed me, I guess, like a mosquito in your ear for 24 hours. So then when I went in to pick up the kids the next day, I was thinking about it, and God said, heap coals on her head. And I'm like, geez, that's kind of harsh. Heap coals on her head. He's like, heap coals on her head. And then I remembered weeks ago, I don't remember if it was a preacher or a prophet, someone was talking about heaping coals on your enemy's head and really what that means. And I was always really confused about this verse. And when they broke it down, it just made so much sense. So let me read it. So in Proverbs 25, 21 and 22, it almost feels like there's a dichotomy, but they actually go together. In 21, if thine enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. For then you shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord shall reward you. So it felt like, when I've always read this before, it felt like the first verse was, you give him food, and then you give him water, and then the second verse is like, and then you burn him up. I'm like, that does not make sense. But what it's saying is that fire, he was explaining that fire was very necessary to people. It was very precious to people. That's how they cooked their food. That's how they heated their homes. That's how they had light in their house. That's how they purify things. It was very life-giving. And so if you were sharing your coals with somebody, you were actually doing something that's really life-giving. And so, so it went with the first verse of, you give them food to eat, you give them something to drink, and then you also give them this life-giving source. And when that was explained to me, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So then when God said, heap coals on her head, I was like, oh, he wants me to bless her, basically. So I just started praying blessings over her. I was like, Lord, just give her complete joy today. Let somebody in her daycare just make her giggle, make her heart smile, oh Lord, and give her monetary goodness and blessings that came out of nowhere, that's unexpected, that gives her joy, and just reap goodness in her life, oh Lord. And I just prayed it over her, and all of a sudden I'm getting it all over again. I'm going to get all giddy, so be careful. I'm just warning you. I mean, his shalom just washed right over me from head to toe. And there was just so much joy in my system that I just had like this giddy grin on my face in the middle of the car line. Like, who grins like that in the car line? And I'm just trying to contain myself. I was like, woo, I love this feeling. Like, bring me some more of that. So I was like, who else can I, reap coals on their head? And I was like, I'm going to do it for my children. So I did it for my children and did it for their teachers and, people that I love. And I was like, it's not giving me the same feeling as it did for this one lady. So I was like, I wonder if it just works for her, or if it works just for anybody who slighted me or offended me or, gnawed at me a little bit. So I started thinking about some of the people who had sent me nasty Facebook messages. And so I just started heaping coals on their head. And that feeling came right back. And the hair stood on my arm, and my head started buzzing. And I was like, ooh, the Holy Spirit is in my car today. I'm feeling it right now. And so, I mean, just shalom just washes right over you and just gives you complete joy. So I'm like, man, I'm going to have to, I like a lot of people. Like, there's not very many people I don't like. And so I'm gonna have to make myself some enemies so I can heap coals on their head. So I mean, even today on my walk, I just started praying over that same lady, and just the shalom just came right over me. Like, I could almost not walk my dog because my head was buzzing so much. And so that's what I want to share with you. Heap coals on people's heads. Heap a lot of it. If you don't like the political views, heap coals on their head. If you don't like their view on the Voldemort, heap coals on their head. If you don't like that their viewpoint on masks, heap coals on their head. Heap it, baby, heap it. Because like it says in verse 22, the Lord shall reward thee. So I want you to try that today. I hope that you experience the same shalom that I experienced, and the same joy that I experienced, because, oh man, I'm going to be doing this regularly. Bring me some enemies. I'm going to have to make some enemies so I can heap coals on people's heads. Anyway, so I hope that works for you. Just a reminder, I don't check my messages. So if you're, I don't even know if people watch these videos. I'm not even supposed to look. So, but God told me not to check my messages underneath any of the videos I make. He's teaching me a lot through that. I might share that because he's revealed some stuff in dreams, I believe, to me about what he's teaching me in this practice. But, I hope that you experience the same joy and goodness that I experience when you heap coals on people's heads. All right. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Go into shalom.